Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fosterpreneur Podcast. If you are first, or if this is your first time joining us, the Fosterpreneur Podcast is simply a way that we unpeel the layer and you just learn about the people who make up Fosterpreneur, from our students. And now we've actually transitioned into the masterminds behind Fosterpreneur. And today I am absolutely delighted. Yes, I said delighted because it is a delight for me to have the honorable, the esteemed, the infamous William Honablew Jr. joining us today. And before he formally introduces himself, right, I have to brag on William, right? This podcast episode is really special to me. And the reason why it's really special to me is because William was the first person outside of my immediate circle that was like, Fosterpreneur, let's get it, let's do it. So today is just us having a conversation about how our relationship started and how we've gotten from the first time meeting in 2015 up to this point. So now I'm going to be quiet, and William, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. So what do you want the people to know?
Oh wow, that's actually I think you did a really great job of introducing me. So I'll just fill in a couple of the details you might have left out. My name is William M. Honablew Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the principal instructor and board chair of Fosterpreneur Incorporated. It has been an amazing journey, an amazing ride. And I think one of the things that I really want to start off with is talking about like why being part of Fosterpreneur is important to me. Um, because it is part of kind of who I've become, like who I am at this point. Fosterpreneur represented for me an opportunity to utilize some of my skills in business development and entrepreneurship and trauma informed training to really help give back to people who have had circumstances that may have come from adverse childhood experiences and things like that. And didn't have a lot of the benefits and a lot of the opportunities and resources to really build their business. But what we realized and I've been doing business consulting for like 25 years at this point. And I realized that some of the main skills that help you become a successful entrepreneur, it's not about your education, it's not about how much money you start with. Now, don't get it twisted. Those things can be helpful. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it has to be your adaptability. It has to be how you deal with adversity, how you deal with challenges, how flexible you can be, how you can motivate and cajole other people to get what you want. And what we find is that a lot of those skill sets have been developed in alumni of the foster care system simply as a matter of survival. When your survival depends on whether your foster parents like you and how they feel about you, not necessarily the fact that they're responsible for you, or hell, even your own parents, you have to navigate kind of those. And I don't want to say manipulative in a negative way, but you had to try to control and influence your circumstances as much as you could just for survival. If we can take those skills that people have and tap into a practical genius, we can help them build business systems that can take them to their next level.
Ooh, see, William, I already knew. I mean, we just getting started, but I already knew that you were gonna bring the fire. I knew you were gonna talk about how your background and how like fosterpreneur has been a pivotal part of your life. And oh, we're just getting started. So I am so excited to dive in a bit further into how you just introduced yourself.
Okay.
So let me tell you guys, I had the privilege of meeting William for the first time in 2015. And he came to me highly recommended. He came to me through a referral that said, hey, you want to do work with foster care youth? I think I know somebody who has the business insight who would be really interested in the work that you're doing. And I'm going to get my version real quick, and then I want you to share with the people your version of this. So I was really geeked to meet you, William. Like, heard great things about you, right? And I had my PowerPoint presentation for why foster care youth, why entrepreneurship, all of these things. And I remember we met at Panera. For those of you who know, Panera is my spot for meetings like this. We met at Panera, and you ripped my presentation apart. And that was something I was not used to at that time. And my first thought was like, how dare he? Like, how dare he? You know, not that I wasn't open to feedback, but I was just so taken back by the directness of it all that I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. So I feel like I've just said a little bit too much. So I'm going to pause and turn it over to you because I want you to tell people what did you know about me, if anything about me, and what is your memory of that meeting that was a little like 9 years ago now?
Yeah, yeah, it's almost been a decade. So the way that I remember the meeting is let's put some context to it. I meet with a lot of people, some of them only one time. And one of the reasons is what you described is that working with me is not easy because a lot of people have their identity into their business. And so for me to talk about how your business idea doesn't make sense in a larger context, a lot of people see that as a personal attack or a personal affront on their success, or I'm suggesting that they aren't going to be successful. So I meet with a lot of people one time. And I get that. Again, I wouldn't necessarily work with me. Especially if I was not in an emotionally like prepared position, if I wasn't in therapy, I absolutely would not work. I got to be honest, I wouldn't. Especially because I know what I actually think sometimes that I don't actually say. But yeah, absolutely. I don't even like living with me most times, but I realize I can't get away from me because every time I've left me, I found myself like almost immediately. It's kind of disrespectful. Um, but so one of the things that's a really big deal for me are the people in my life that I've already vetted. Because most of them we have, understanding that I won't send you bullshit, you don't send me bullshit. If you send somebody and they say, hey, like, like for example, in this case, it was Brian Oles. Like, I respect the work that Brian has done in the community, even at that point. He was really in there making a difference and actually doing things, not just talking about stuff. He was actually making moves. So so for him to refer you to me, I'm like, okay, cool, Brian Center, whatever, whatever. But again, you're a random person who have an appointment. Happens all the time. And so when we sit down, you were so prepared and so excited. And I was like, this is not going to go well. It's just not. She's
I
basically,
was so ecstatic. I think I even had like a suit on.
oh no, you did with like a nice little skirt or whatever. Like, and you had it wasn't like full ruffle, but like it was a nice little something that
Yes, I know
yeah,
exactly
little
what you're
jacket.
talking about.
It was awesome. I was like, oh no, she came to do a presentation. Not, no, please don't present to me. Like so I'm not a good person to present to. Not a fan of it because like that is what you have curated to share. So I'm assuming that's already the stuff you've already thought through. So if that doesn't make sense, there's a higher level problem. I want to talk about the stuff that you haven't prepared for it so I can get the depth of your knowledge to figure out how much support, how many resources, what kind of network you're going to need for you, where you are now to be and to get to where you want to be. Um, and you at the time had a lot of great ideas that did not have a lot of what I consider anchored in what I knew to be reality. And it was one of those things. So I'll say it that way. And then this is the thing I tell all the students and people I work with: like, you may exist in a network and a reality that I do not, that I don't know. You may know your network because you grew up around them, and there are cultural contexts that I just have no idea about. So in my cultural context, what you're trying to sell doesn't even make sense. But in your cultural context, it may. And that's one of the things I do. I give people, or I provide support for them to explore and expand their world. Not because you aren't selling stuff. No. You know, again, I can tell you who does what in my world. I can tell you how that market works. I can tell you a lot of these things because I'm in it. I see them. I've been studying them. But I don't know where you exist. And so, I told you, it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And why, and a lot of what you wanted to do was stuff that I had seen done and I was doing, like entrepreneurship training and stuff like that. And I think one of the biggest things was you had vision, you had passion, but there were things about the ecosystem that you just didn't know. And that is the way it should be. If you think that especially if you are a startup and you think that you know everything you need to know, or that even the things that you know are true, then you might be in trouble.
Oh,
Because,
wait. Can you run that back again? Because I feel like people need to know. I feel like that needs to be an extra emphasis there.
and I appreciate that. So it's kind of like moving from a position, especially if intergenerationally, you and your family have always been consumers. You don't know what it's like to manage or own. It is
Mm,
a different perspective. It's kind of like parents and children. I when and I tell the story all the time. When I was 10, I was like, you know what? When I grow up, I'm gonna get whatever kind of cereal I want, and my kids is never gonna have to eat bran ever, like because bran is horrible. Because my dad had a some kind of one of his friends had a cancer diagnosis, and so all of a sudden everything we ate changed. And you have all the money, and you could go into any store you want and get Cocoa Puffs, you could get Pops, and you choose to get bran flakes,
how
not
dare you?
even raisin bran.
How dare you?
And so, like at 10 years old, I was like, I will sugar cereal all the time because that's what freedom looked like to me. That's what being in charge. That's what that power looked like to me. The reality is that now I have diabetes, dead ass,
Mm,
because I did not understand the difference between managing that as an adult and enjoying it as a treat as a child.
mm,
That lack of understanding happens a lot in business. You look at it on the other side as an employee, say like, I love this one. Had one of my clients, when she started bringing on employees, she was really living through some of her workplace trauma, trying to create an environment where that trauma would never happen. So one of the things she hated about working under her old bosses, that they would always be like, "Where are you at? What are you doing?" And then really being real dicks about the whole personal time. Like, is that a personal call, blah, blah, blah. And that was traumatic for her. She felt that she hated the micromanagement and things like that. So she didn't bring on employees at first. I talked her out of that. I suggested, you don't know enough to have employees. So why don't we do some independent contractors? Not to try to shit on them, not because, be careful. Some people who do independent contractor, hire independent contractors, they do so that they can exploit them, so they don't have to pay them what they're due. This was more, let's see how this works, and making sure that they are truly independent contractors, not employees we're just trying to reclassify. So what she started doing and gave them free birth, and that was one of the reasons, because this model that she wanted, you have to give that to an independent contractor. That whole, you can't micromanage an independent contractor, because at that
yeah.
point they start transitioning into an employee. So this worked for her. But what she found is that she was really concerned because her expectation of what they should have been doing based on her experience, which her doing the same things, they weren't producing as much as she was. So
Mm,
she was like, well, how do I get more out of them? Da, 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 da. You starting to sound like the people you work for. And what she ended up understanding was that while the people she worked for had gone about it wrong and had created a traumatic experience and a place where she felt the toxicity, they were right in what they were trying to do, because they were responsible for the return on investment. For every time they paid you for an hour, they were supposed to be getting something back from that.
yeah.
And if they weren't getting it back, then their business was losing money. But now, as an employer, as a business owner, micromanagement looked differently. And so we were able to talk about things like that. But again, when you came to the table, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of, I've studied, and you did a lot of research. You were very well prepared. It was a great presentation in that it was well structured, well communicated. It's just that the actual portions of the world that existed that I knew wasn't yours. Like, as me as a 10-year-old, diabetes wasn't even a whole thing. That's something that my mama had, and it meant that she had to stick herself with needles, but like it wasn't even that big a deal. And she still ate ice cream. So I don't even understand why everybody complaining about it. But
No,
again,
look,
that's a very real perspective. And we take those types of perspectives, not just in our health, not just in our communities, especially when we've never had health, when we never had successful businesses. We look and try to replicate what we think were what we think were the successes, and try to eliminate the problems, not realizing there's an entire ecosystem and rationale behind some of the things that we thought was stupid.
yeah, no, and even though I still remember how I felt walking out that meeting, it was exactly what I needed, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
forced me to level up and then be like, oh, I need to do work that I haven't done yet. And then I don't remember, it was maybe within 6 months later, like I came back to you, correct? And you're like, oh, let's
No,
talk seriously about
no, no,
this.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
It was like
Oh,
2
you
months.
remember differently? Okay.
It was
Correct.
like 2 months. It was
Oh,
2 months.
okay. Then it was less
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it was
Okay.
2 months. It was only about 2 months that you came back, and then like you came back with something vastly different. And honestly, two of the things that impressed me at that point and was like, okay, maybe she has some stuff with her. It's like one, again, not even counting in the two, is like the fact that you were referred by somebody I respected. The second was the fact that you actually followed up and that you had done new research. You had added to it, not just looked at it and tried to think it through a different way to re-explain it to me so that I could understand better. Because I love that happens often. It's like, oh, you just
All
don't
the time.
understand. Like, oh, honey. Oh, like so one of the things that I forgot to mention in my introduction, I am one of the smartest people that most people will ever meet in their lives. One of, not the, but because I don't know where else you're going to go. But I am one of the smartest. So I love when people, especially the new to business, want to tell me how things work. It's so hilarious. It's like, well, you can get grant funding if you do this. Okay, tell me who said that. What do you mean? Well, you just made a statement of a fact. You can get grant money if you do this. Who said that? Well, you know that, like because that's what they want, right? Now you ask me a question. I asked you, are you asking me or are you telling me? Because you just told me something. Now you asking me about something you just said. I don't understand that shit. It gets me very confused. I'm very confused now because you said stuff and now you're asking me, are you right about the shit you said?
No, oh my gosh, William, I one of the things that I will say in my experience of knowing you and not even knowing you as our principal lead instructor in our board chair Fosterpreneur, but as a friend as well, is that you are somebody who like kind of holds the mirror up to other people with like the questions that you ask. And some of those questions can either make folks like rise to the occasion or just go, it's the fight or flight type of
Ooh,
experience.
fight,
I feel like
flight, flight, or freeze. Because I'm
freeze. Okay.
realizing that is a whole thing that is absolutely a thing that happens regularly now.
Yeah. And 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 part of even in like some of our conversations, which I really value, like you'll bring up things and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it this way. Or it's like, this is a question that I need to take, like take a deeper dive with. So I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
And you being one of the smartest people that most people ever meet. And for those of you who don't know William, you may be thinking the audacity of this man to say that. He's not lying though. He's not.
There's test
Um,
results. I have test results.
I like to hang around really smart people. I like to hang around people that are smarter than me, so they can challenge me. But I say that just to say that like I appreciate everything that you have done for Fosterpreneur and just me individually. So wanted to put that out there on
I
the record.
appreciate it. I appreciate that. Now, one of the things that I want to also talk about, because it really is part of the fosterpreneur process. It is part, not even a process, it's part of our culture. And it sounds rude. So let's also be clear. Most of the things that I say sound rude. Some of them actually are rude. The reality is that I'm right either way, though. So like, I have difficulty, like, if you're complaining that I'm rude, but you're not addressing that I'm right, I'm going to have difficulty processing this with you, because we need to start with, do you understand, regardless of the context, do you understand what I said? Because then we can move on to whether it was appropriate for me to say it that way. So I wanted to put that context there.
Okay, no, that's important. That's important context. And because I know you so well, from my perception, right? Like you may
Right.
feel differently, but I know you so well. There's certain things that I just know, and I appreciate you pointing it out to the audience because they don't have that full context. When you've worked with somebody now, like 9 years, and sometimes more intensely during that time, there are just certain things that you know about that person. But that's
Right.
what I said. Like Bradley, some of you guys may be already turned off by this interview already, and you'll be like, you know what, I'm not listening to this. But if you're still listening, we still have more nuggets for you. So
And the reason that I brought that up is because of the next nugget. We have two standard rules. Well, I have two standard rules in life. So far, then my rules adjust from time to time as the context changes, as I learn more things. But right now, these are the two that kind of govern life, and I've been sharing them. And actually, at some of the businesses I work with, they've adopted them, and some of our alumni have adopted them too. And these rules are very helpful when you find yourself either in conflict or feeling bad. Rule one: everyone is stupid, including you. When I'm in a position where there's some kind of conflict, some kind of tension, or that I'm feeling bad about myself or bad about something that happens, when I stop and try to figure out somebody is stupid, then it helps me figure out what the solution is. How did we get here? How did we and how do we resolve it? And once you still anchor into people being stupid and trying to figure it out, because we love that part, don't we? We love figuring out who's stupid. Like, whose fault is
Yeah,
this? That's why you
right.
got to put yourself in that mix as well, because you may be the stupid one. I am the most rational person in most conversation because I already know I'm a crazy person. I know I make up stories in my head about why you did this and that. And so as I'm talking to you, I was like, what about, did she actually say that? Or am I feeling that? And that's a step that a lot of people don't take. So sometimes they're stupid about their emotional context. Sometimes they're stupid because they don't have all the background that you have.
Right.
Sometimes you're stupid because you don't have the background. Sometimes you're stupid because you have trauma that has manifested itself in this moment that you are not even aware of, and you are fighting someone who is not even in the room.
Ooh,
That's
that
rule one.
part. That part, like some of those unresolved things, especially if you start a business, they will rear its ugly head at the most inopportune times. Like,
And the
no
sad part
matter where
is
you
you
go,
probably
there
don't
you
even.
are. Oh, I didn't mean
And
to
so,
cut you off.
oh no, I'm sorry, that was me. But I'm saying sometimes you won't even realize that you are the problem because it makes sense in your head, because the world that you're living in your head, because you're stupid in this moment, you have created an entire world in your head. This is why they did that. This is what it's going to mean if this doesn't happen. You, in many cases, are going to be so afraid of a future that you don't control that you are ruining the present that you're in. You are stupid, and it's okay. Be Expect to be stupid. Why would you know anything about a place you ain't never fucking been before? You have never drawn this journey. You have never been this individual before. So why do you assume that you know anything? You may
Oh,
be stupid.
let's pause for a second. I love that you just said expect to be stupid, because if you're just starting this journey, or not even if you're just starting your journey, like you're in the midst of the journey, or maybe you're about to start a different type of journey. Like you're in this thing called life. So not even talking business now. We're in this thing called life. If you expect, like if you know that, oh, there are going to be times that I should expect that this is not going to make sense, that I'm going to be confused, that's so freeing, because then you can take off the whole act of pretending like you do. And how many of us spend portions of our lives, or if not our entire lives, pretending, whether that's pretending in business, pretending in relationships, pretending in academic settings, pretending at work, pretending
Oh
in
no.
everything.
It's worse. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. It is not really a pretense, because a pretense means, like, if I pretend to be someone, like if I go into your family reunion and I pretend to be Erica, there is a defined person that I am trying to attempt to be. I put on your glasses. I wear my Fosterpreneur shirt. I put on a wig or something.
Yeah, you
The
gotta put
whole
on a
braiding
wig
down
for
hair.
it,
I'm not.
you
I'm
know,
not gonna be able to.
that hairstyle is.
But I am pretending to be something to fit into a context that exists. What happens is even worse for a lot of us, especially for those of us who are coming to the table from a place of trauma. We are trying to exist in a world that does not exist. We want this world to be real. We
Mm,
can see it. I use relationships as a metaphor for business all the time.
you sure
You can
do.
see it in families where, why would you let this person back in after they robbed you? Well, because that's family, because I have an emotional connection. It does not make logical sense. It doesn't, but we do it anyway. That's why it's important to understand that you can be stupid, because when have you ever been taught how to detangle your emotions to make these decisions, or not even detangle them, how to balance your emotions with the facts of the circumstances that your business exists in? Whoever taught you that? Hell, most of y'all like, oh, that's not, how would you even start that? Why would you be able to make good decisions in business when your emotions are still all turned around? That's
Mm,
why you try. That's why we engage. That's why we learn. That's why we recognize and we study trauma and its impact in the business development for those of us who come from those backgrounds. Because it also leads to rule two. So rule one is everyone is stupid. You should expect that, and you should include yourself in the list. Rule two is fuck them whores. Whoever the student because once you realize who's stupid, you can identify it, try to find a plan and try to fix it. But also remember, there's certain shit that is just outside the scope of your control and will always be. That is the nature of things.
Oh. Yes, you heard him correctly. He said, F them hoes.
Oh, I apologize. There's more context. Thank you. I'll take care of this one because
Okay,
I realize
okay.
you.
See, this is why
I
we work
appreciate
well
that.
together, because we pick up where the other. Yes, go right ahead,
Yeah.
William.
So she tends to do this way more politely, and I have to come in and she tries to clean it up, and I need to make sure that everybody understands that it stays dirty. One of the challenges that we have is that we try to be polite about teaching people business. Business is an honorable activity, and no, it's not. It's ugly, it's dirty, and it's bullshit. And the reality is that most of what we teach people or people get taught about business comes from the perspective of a well-funded white man. That's it. That's where the rules come from. If you have a good business plan, you should be able to find some investors. If you've done your research, you should be able to get into these rooms. If you have a good product, these things should work out for you. That is true if you are a well funded, well connected white man. Period. It works. For those of us who are not, and the further down the socioeconomic scale you fall, the less those things are true. I have people who, have very few resources who want to invest all their time in the logo and the tagline.
Ooh.
But do you have a business model? So once somebody sees your logo, oh, I love that. Then they click on what? Oh, now you have a website. And then what happens in the background? Who's answering those calls? You have a wonderful logo that gets a lot of people there, but you don't have anybody to deliver services. You don't know if you're delivering services well, and nobody is watching the cash register. And nobody's watching the bank account or the finances. And so now you've taken on more than you can chew. Nobody told you about scaling. Everybody told you that you want this final dream. And here's one of the things that I will tell you, and the differences in how we do it at Fosterpreneur and how I've seen other people do it. If you need $50,000 to open your business, then your business is finding $50,000. That second thing is your next step in your business growth. Your business is now finding $50,000. And you find it based on what your resources are and the resources that you can get. Well, I'll apply for a loan. I'm sorry, your credit score is 523. Don't do that. Don't be disrespectful. You may have a wonderful idea, but you ain't never done nothing before. Why would anybody trust you? It's like, think about it like this. If you're a parent and you want somebody to watch your kids, like, I've never watched kids before, but I should be able to do a really good job because when I took a high school class in home economics and I've done research and I've watched all of the episodes of and I've read all the Babysitter Club books, and I've gone to the the CPR training for the why, and like all of these things may matter, but you still ain't never hold no baby though. Like, and you want me to give you, and that's what you need to remember. These banks and these funders, these are their babies, and they're looking for them to grow. They're not looking just to shoot babies out and you do whatever. They're looking to be able to talk about, what did we get? We loaned you $50,000. Not only did we get a return on investment, because guess what? That's the bare minimum about them giving money. That's the bare minimum. They're going to know that they're going to get their money back. But they also want more. They want to be able to brag about you. They want you to be able to bring other people to their office who can qualify for money and will pay them back. That's what they're looking for. So just because you can pay it back barely doesn't impress them. Now, that's impressive in some of the worlds we live in. That's why we need to focus on what we do. Again, if you're trying to get it out of the corporate suites, then you need to see somebody to give you an invitation there. But most of us, we get it out the mud, and that shit is dirty.
Oof. Oh. William, like I said, I knew that, well, before we started, I knew that there would be jewels that were dropped, and you always come through.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. If you make it easy because you ask me all the right questions. Like, I got an opinion on that shit. I have an opinion. But also, that's the other part about Fosterpreneur. You come as you are. I curse a lot, and when we have students who aren't used to that or need to dial down, I will. But I also make sure that everybody knows that you come as you are. You had a fucked up day, you show up here with a fucked up day. We work it out together. This is hard enough just to think through. At Fosterpreneur, nobody has to go it alone.
You are
Nobody has to go it alone. We might not be able to solve the problem, but you ain't gonna be by yourself in it. We'll find you some resource. Might just be somebody to talk to, somebody who maybe a couple dollars, or honestly, even to watch your kid for a little while. Get some food like that. It's all rough. And one of the things we recognize is that for entrepreneurs, there is no work-life balance. When you work for somebody else, you can have a work-life balance. Why? Because they bought, let's say, 40 hours of your time. So you're not trying to give them more than they pay for, and they're not trying to take less than they pay for. So there's always this tension about how much, what's personal time, what's your time, blah, blah, blah. But when you're an entrepreneur, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week, that's all yours. And you decide how all of them get spent. And you can change that each week, each day, because the world will change each week, each day. If you're still doing that, at one person's like, well, I've been doing this for 3 years. It's like, yeah. And you don't think the world has changed in 3 years? Everything is exactly the same. So why should you be the exact same? I'm
yeah,
not saying change as much as the wind blows, but make sure that you stay aware of what's going on around you. That's what we mean. It's hard. That's why it's really big to really dig in to create these business systems, to create these circumstances so that you don't have to be alone. And a lot of these decisions are made before you have to make them. Like you've already thought it through. And so when it's time to make the decisions, like, oh yeah, in this situation, boom. That's how corporations work. And for those of you that want and talking about corporations, I just want to say this. A lot of times we come to the table in entrepreneurship with these ideas that our business is going to help us fight the power. Let's be clear. The people it's like I hate corporate America, so I'm going to start my own business. So the mirror that Erica was talking about. So you don't like corporate America, so your solution is to start a corporation in America.
stop it, William. Stop it. But okay. So I hear you on that, and I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say, I think a lot of people's notions of is I want to control my own corporation.
Oh yeah, no, I
And
get that,
probably
but
not
you're
make it, and not having the same culture as
but
corporate America.
But that's again one of the things that is a white man thing, a well-funded white man thing. The idea that you can control your outcomes in business, so that you can even control your day in business. Because at your job, you may have one boss who's a pain in the ass micromanaging, but when you have clients, every one of them who buys a hot dog thinks they can instruct you on how the mayonnaise or the mustard and ketchup should go. How many times have you seen, like, and again, these aren't even the business owners who got an opinion. Your
Yeah.
employees got an opinion on how you should do things. Your suppliers have an opinion and your family. Don't even get me started on them. They ain't never have a business. You the first one in your family, and they got shit to tell you. And getting
Yes.
this shit is hard. That's what I'm saying. What we teach at Fosterpreneur is that the only thing that an entrepreneur, a business owner, can bring to their business that nobody else can is the ability to make decisions. There's nobody you can hire anybody to do anything else except make the decision about hell. Even you can make a decision about who to hire to make decisions about who to hire, but you still have to make that decision. And so as we start focusing in on what is it, the business logo doesn't matter, is your decision. Your decision about what logo. How do you choose a logo? How do you choose a tagline? How do you choose a service? How do you choose a price? Because I could tell you what I think you should do based on my research, my understanding, but what happens when the world changes? What William said is, that's what we talk about the minimum wage. There's supposed to be $15 an hour. Everybody's still talking about $15 an hour. We said that 10 years ago. Should be about 20 or so right now. But we got stuck on $15 an hour, so that's all we can say. You don't want that to be your business.
Yeah.
You want to be able to make decisions in real time and understand how to do that. Because otherwise, you will just always have to find people to hire and hope that they're right.
Yeah. So I want to take us go a little bit in a different direction. You dropped so many different nuggets, and I think one of the things that would be helpful for people, the general public, to know about our story is kind of how do we get here, right? And part of and one of the things I want to explore with you is, what do you wish that you knew back in 2015 after I came back to you, and we started working on Fosterpreneur together? What do you wish you knew back then that you know now? And then also, too, what do you wish you knew about working with our students before you did that you know now? So
And again, I'm not really good on the before and after
Okay.
because I recognize that there is a process.
Ooh.
The way I look at it is, I have friends who are on varying parts of the I wanted to be a parent continuum. You have
Mm,
some who like really worked at it and struggled for it, and being having a child was the best thing that they ever did. You have some who's like, yeah, when I found out, I had some decisions to make. I mean,
right. Hmm.
but there's a continuum. For those who wanted to be parents, if you ask them, well, how long did it take you to have your baby? Regular time, let's say 9 months. Well, why didn't you try to get it out? You wanted to be a mom so badly. Why didn't you try to get the baby out at 4 or 5 months? Well, because that doesn't make sense. It wasn't ready. Like it had not reached its full gestation. It would not have been able to survive that well, notwithstanding what you wanted. And on the other side, people who weren't ready to have kids. Well, why didn't you just hold it in for another 3 or 4 months to get yourself ready? Well, it'd have killed both of us because that it was past gestation.
Yeah.
That's why for me it's difficult to say what would I wish had what do I wish anything had happened in a different order, because I think we are in an amazing place. Like our model is top tier, it's innovative, we have demonstrated success, we've been actually able to get people to develop business, find better jobs, how's like the whole nine.
Hmm.
But I'm concerned that if we had had that earlier, we'd have screwed it up. So, for example, one of the big pieces that really made a change is that we had an ongoing debate about whether to go virtual or not.
We
You
did.
were really anchored into real life, the whole personal interaction. So some of it, I don't like lots of interaction with people. It's overwhelming over a period of time. So I love anything that helps us interact less. And I know you're the exact opposite. So you were really pushing. And again, not mine. Like this is your organization. I am a part of it to help support or whatever. So I try to remember that part, especially back then. Um, and we tried a couple cohorts in real life, and we learned a lot about it. So, for example, we learned that employers don't give a good goddamn about the betterment of their employees in some cases. We had one of our first entrepreneur fosterpreneurs to come into the program. We had made all of the arrangements with her boss, and she had talked to her boss. She had made arrangements to have that night off and blah blah blah. And somebody quit, and her boss was like, "Oh no, we need you to come in on Wednesday." She's like, "Well, no, I'm in this program about entrepreneurship." He was like, "Okay, so do you want to do that, or do you want the job? Because if you don't come in on Wednesday, I'm going to get somebody and adjust all the time." It was like, and we were sitting there like, "Wait, he can't do that." And then we sat there, it was like, "Says who?" That's not right. Okay, no, that's true, but doesn't
Right.
change anything. And so what we ended up doing, and we talked about this for a while, and then the pandemic hit. We
The
didn't have
best
any
thing
choice.
that could have happened to us, by the way.
Well, don't do that.
I
Don't do
mean,
that. We cannot celebrate the
wait, no,
pandemic with so
wait.
much publicly. Stop. Don't be disrespectful.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking about this in this very
Yeah, no,
narrow.
no, no. I understand. I'm literally just teasing you about it. Just yeah, and I'm teasing you because normally I'm the person on that side who's like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. You're like, oh God, no, that is not fine. Don't say that's fine. It felt really good to be in this position right now. Um, but like the pandemic forced us to move the model, and one of the things that was also helpful because during the pandemic there were some things that happened professionally as well as personally, and like I lost it, like anxiety attacks, panic attacks, depression. And one of the things that I did was that I was like, there's too much stuff in my head, I just need to write it out. And I started just in some of the thinking that I was doing. I was like, I want to help people. I want to help all of the people, but like I don't want to talk to most of them. Like I don't. And then I developed my personal goals for life, never to talk to a motherfucker personally or professionally that I don't want to talk to ever again in life. I love that. But I also realized that I like helping people. So it was one of these things like, how do you help people and not talk to them at the same time? And I was like, oh, I have an idea. Videos. So what I did is I explained everything on a video in the curriculum that we had talked about, that we had developed in Fosterpreneur. And then as well, let me tell you, the reason I got to there wasn't just because I don't want to talk to people. But one of the things that we were realizing as we were talking to alumni of the foster care system and some of the other opportunity youth that we wanted to work with is that, sometimes it was because life is life, and showing up, I may be there physically at 6 p.m. whenever you need me to be there, but my mind might still be someplace else. I'm thinking about like, damn, it's raining outside. So what time do I have to leave to make sure I got the bus? So now I'm watching the clock, not really paying attention. And what we realized was like they were also trying to learn things, and some people don't have as strong an academic background. So it
Right.
takes them a little while to process. You need to have to say things over and over again, and that's fine. But it also means so the people in the class who don't, you create this kind of tiered learning system. Either you're leaving somebody behind, well, you're leaving somebody, or you're not helping somebody get to their full potential. But what we learned with in talking to people with the videos is that it gives you an opportunity to watch it when you are available. If you can't sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, pull up a Fosterpreneur video and also rewatch it as many times as you want. You don't have to, you can take notes on it then. So when you come to the class, we can talk about your business. You're not trying to learn, you're trying to get clarity. Like, oh, I heard you say this. I wasn't sure about what it meant when you said this in the video. So it's about you increase the likelihood of comprehension by just adding this video step that people can access whenever. And we make sure that our fosterpreneurs can access the website and the resources even after graduation, because this isn't what we tell you this one time and you should know it and keep it moving. This
Mhm.
is a lifelong learning process, especially for those of us who come from trauma backgrounds, who don't have entrepreneur in our family or don't have successful entrepreneurs, because that's something we can do. We can continue to cycle bad behavior in business and still not realize why we're not successful. And so that's why we do this anchor, because this is not a one and done. This is about creating a network, a community, a culture of support, a culture that where we value the shit we've been through and we don't hide from it. We're not ashamed of it. We let people know we've been through that, and that gives us a level of expertise that y'all motherfuckers don't. Y'all ain't never been through this. You've never had to sleep in a car. You've never had to like be at work vacuuming floors trying to learn entrepreneurship. So you ain't got nothing to tell me about this. That's the difference. People show up who they are, and we want them to show up who they are. Don't hide shit from us. We are not the ones to hide from. Because if
No,
you did it,
no, not at
we
all.
probably did it before you. And if we didn't do it, we probably helped somebody get out of it. So there's nothing to hide here. This
Yeah.
is as close to a safe space in human existence, I think, that you can get.
You know, and when you saying that, right? Like we don't have an attendance policy. We have our doors always open, and unfortunately, we live in a world where you don't have that kind of grace, right? Like, you know, you
You
don't
didn't do
show
what
up
we
to
told you
class,
to. 15 minutes late, you lose a letter grade.
right? And part of what I'm proud of what we've cultivated is we've created a space where our young people can have success and not have old other narratives that may have been told to them throughout their lives or whoever, like, hey, this is a space that for real you're always welcome. Like, I tell folks I've had the same cell phone number since I was 15 when I got a cell phone, right? Like, that number is not changing. Like, there's you know there's nothing. So far,
This
I've not
space,
come across anything that anybody has done that I would not say you're not welcome, right? Like, there's nothing that we've come across.
we it is again one of the closest things, and I was just talking to a friend of mine about this, about some of the other friendships that I have, that I value as much as I do the culture that we've created at Fosterpreneur. It is it is as close as I have experienced in a professional setting to unconditional acceptance and stability. And that's
Mm,
a really big deal for a lot of us who come from places where, like, literally, I was told at a job, if you don't do it, I will find somebody who will. That's not stable. That's not safe.
oh,
That's real. Don't get it twisted. I appreciate the honesty. I just was pissed off about the fuck he was honest about. That's not here. You
and
you got to take a break. Hell, we had somebody take a break for what, a year and a half? No, 2 years, and then came back. Like, real shit.
right, right, and I will say too, one reason why our our model works as effectively as it does is because I feel very fortunate that, like, my leadership style and my vision is I let people do what they need to do. So, like, for example, William said most people could not handle working with him. And he said, how I wouldn't even work with my own damn self, right? Like, he said that. But, like, one reason why we work is because I recognize the value that I bring to this process. I recognize the value that William brings to this process. And I say, William, I trust you. And this is your area, and you have ownership over this. Yes, there are things that I will say that I want to happen, right? But I allow you to operate in your lane. I've never had a student, and William, I feel like you would agree with us. We've never had a
Mhm.
Fosterpreneur student that we've told, hey, don't do that business. Now, you may have said, right? You may have said, you may want to consider looking at it this from a different perspective, right? But we have never told anybody that their idea is too small, too big. Like, you are welcome here. You are really welcome here.
Right, but wait,
Um,
let me make sure everybody understands because we take mental health real seriously. I don't want you to think that that means we enable you. If your shit doesn't make sense,
yeah.
we will say like, okay, you may understand this to work. You may think it's work, but I need you to explain it to me because everything I know about the universe says this shit ain't gonna work. But there may, and again, that legitimately happens. That you may know, we've had people who legitimately had an opportunity for like this grant that, in regular terms, wouldn't make sense. Like you wouldn't necessarily be qualified. But the thing about the ecosystem and the market she was in made her absolutely qualified. She got it, and boom. You know what I mean? So like that is relevant. That is helpful. But we will be very honest with you. And we have a way that this works. And we're very clear with everyone from the beginning. If you are feeling vulnerable in a situation, if you are feeling like, you can't take harsh criticism on it, one, before you start talking to me, let me know, or talk to Erica first.
Yeah, I'm
Because
the person for that.
right. And again, I'm saying if you're going to involve me, like talk to Erica first. And again, it's not because I don't want to hear it or whatever, is that we want to make sure that we do what's best for you. Like she can make sure, like, and again, I sound like a crazy person only because I am. Like my emotions run high. I got a lot of other stuff going on, and she has a better handle on that. So if you are feeling like, you know what, I'm not trying to have nobody ask me questions that make me feel stupid today because that will happen. Absolutely.
Oh, it's
Again,
going to happen.
absolutely is going to happen. You
I
may
still
not
get
feel
that
like that,
regularly from you. So,
huh? Would you say?
I said I still get that regularly from you.
But like that happens, and so like you may not need that today. Like today may not, like that might be the thing that just fuck it, I give up. I don't care anymore because I can't do. No. Then don't talk to me. Like we want you to be successful, and we want to be a part of your success where that makes sense. But we also are very try to be model how you should be clear about who you are, what you're capable of, and what you're not. Like there's no shame in not being able to do everything. Like that's why you find a partner who can. Because once you got the partner who can, all of a sudden you ain't missing nothing. Everybody's on fire, everybody's together, all the students are taken care of, and as an organization, we're in the black and we're able to grow. We were expanding, hiring people like that. We can do that because we're doing things together. And that is also one of the, and I know we're going to, because I could just talk about this all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah, and let me tell you. See, this is why I feel like we're in sync because I'm like, I got one more question I want to ask William, and then we have to wrap it up. But clearly, we'll have to do a part two because
Oh
this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
this is not even like scratching the surface, and I think it's really important for folks to know. So, but yes, keep going,
the,
and then
the,
I'll
the
then
the
we'll
last
start.
thing that I'll say, and I'll pivot a little bit, is that your business is part of what you do. You get to choose if it is your identity. It
Mm.
is very, very, very risky to make your business success a part of your identity because you are not your customer. You are
Ooh.
not your supplier. You are not your employees. You don't know what it takes for what makes them make their decisions. So if you are successful and it's because of your business, then all of those people, your success, your happiness, your life, your identity is now contingent on people that you don't have control over. They now have control over you. Making sure that you remember that you're a whole ass person and business is what you do, or making that decision. My thing isn't about what decision you make, it's just making sure you know you made it. I'm giving you the skills so that you can make an informed decision. That's it. That's all we want to do at Fosterpreneur.
Yeah, so well said. So My last thing for this first part of the conversation, because it's part one, right? We'll do a part two at a later date. Is William, where do you want to see us go? Where do you want to see Fosterpreneur go?
So I am the board chair. So strategic planning is one of the things that I do. However, one of the things that what we've been able to do in Fosterpreneur is to plan dynamically. So we have kind of general goals. We use more, given the stage that we're in, and we teach this at Fosterpreneur. Given the stage that we're in, the goals that we can make can only go so far because we don't have information. We have 6-month goals and things like bringing on some of our alumni as employees and teaching assistants and helping them develop their consultancies and stuff like that. Doing some opening some of our classes up to the general public, fee for service, because again, we need to model the behavior of how you get money in your organization, and providing opportunities for our students to do those things in our environment. So one of the other parts that we have found is that, and this is, I guess this is the answer to your question, is that we have done a really great job of helping them understand the theoretical, bringing it into the practical, where it's like these concepts of marketing, we break it down to awareness. How do you make people aware instead of sales? How do you get them to engage and sign contracts or give you money, making it very behavioral or activity based? Now, what we need to do, or what we're doing, is to create training grounds where they can exercise those skills under our tutelage, under us and our volunteers and other employees under their care. So, because we realized that, at one point we thought it was the fact that they just didn't have the information. Okay, so we gave them the information. Then we realized that it was the information and how to use it in practical terms. So we've done that. Now we realize that some of them need not just the practical terms, but they need to support in actually doing it the first few times, or having an environment where they can learn what those skills feel like. Again, not just on paper, not just because I read something, on what it actually looks like. And we can do it in a context. So if something does go wrong, we can help them fix it. We can help point it out and prevent it in advance. And when things go right, we can help them map out how they got there so that they can replicate it in their business activities outside.
I love it. And let
Me
me tell
too.
you, let me tell you something. I kind of lied because I do have one more question.
Okay, shoot.
How can people get in touch with you?
Through you.
Okay, so you heard that. If you want, and actually, and you know what? Now that I think about it, yes,
I'm very confused as to why you asked me that question.
you
Like,
know,
so,
ask
so
that
no. Yeah, we're modeling behavior now. We're modeling behavior. So
Okay.
let me make sure I understand the question you asked me. You asked me, as I've gone through the fact that I don't want to talk to people, that my goal is to never talk to a motherfucker that I never want to talk to in person, personally or professionally again in life. The question you asked me was for the public who can all see this. How should they contact me directly? I just wanted to sit with that for a second.
No. See this? Okay.
This is how this works, ladies and gentlemen. You see, this is why I say you might not want this. It'll be helpful to you, but you might not want it.
So, all right. So, for clarity's sake, because when I have Fosterpreneur alums on the podcast, right, I give them opportunity to market themselves to our audience, right? So, even though I know you don't want to talk to people, you may say, hey, if you want to know the streams of consciousness of William, you can connect with me at this social media platform.
Erica.
But honestly, but yes, to go back, right? Really, if you want to get in touch with William, by way of Erica.
Fosterpreneur.
Yeah.
Contact Fosterpreneur and you can get in contact with me.
Yes.
Anything else will probably be a little bit more suspect of like,
No, you're absolutely right. No, and I'm glad I asked that stupid question to you, because just so that people could see this in real time.
Yeah. Like, this is how this works. No. Not me. And I'm sitting here like, how should they? They shouldn't.
Right.
I don't understand this question.
So
that was not on the approved list of questions. I didn't.
So what I will do, for the record to know, in the show notes, I will have Fosterpreneur's contact information.
There you go.
So that you guys, if you really want to get a hold of William, by me. So just check out the show notes. It'll have it.
And you should also enroll in the program. Ta-da!
Yes. And that too, because we are, in a few weeks, I'm going to be opening up our applications anyway. So stay tuned. So stay tuned. And
Okay.
that then you can have the exposure that to William, exposure, the access to William that you think you desire. So yes, that you think that you desire. So
That's a true. That makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah. So I just want to say, William, thank you. Like, you have so
Awesome.
many things that you are managing right now, and you took approximately an hour of your time today just to talk to me so that we could just do a little walk down memory lane, but also like
It's
drop
been
some
fun.
jewels, some nuggets for the people just about our whole fosterpreneur journey and why we do what we do. So thank you. I could not do this work without you. I tell you all the time, I
Absolutely.
selfishly need you. And I think that it's great because I think our audience just got a little bit of a taste of the dynamic
Hmm.
and infamous erudite. I just used this SAT word.
Oh, nice, 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 nice,
Person
nice.
that you
Erudite.
are.
Good
If you don't
use.
know the
Yes.
word, just look it
Use.
up.
Look
Read
it
some,
up. Look it up.
Chat GPT, Google, whatever. Um,
It's cool.
just the person that you are. So thank you so much, William.
I appreciate
Until
you,
next time,
Julie. It's my
y'all.
pleasure.
Peace.
See ya.